You ever have that one neighbor who just can't stand to see other people happy? Well, that's exactly what this story is about, and trust me, by the end, you're going to wish you could have been on this street when it all went down. So here's how it started. I live in a pretty normal suburban neighborhood in the United States, you know. The kind cookie-cutter houses, white, picket fences, everyone mowing their lawns on Sunday morning, and like every good American family, when the holiday season rolls around, I like to put up Christmas lights. Nothing crazy at first, just a few strings along the roof line, maybe some lighted candy canes. In the yard, a glowing reindeer or two. The kids love it, the neighbors smile when they drive by. It's the kind of thing that makes the street feel festive. But then there's Karen. Oh yes, of course there's always a Karen. She lives 3 houses down, and she is the self-appointed neighborhood police if the grass is 1 inch too high. She notices if your trash bins stay out 1 hour too long. She's emailing the HOA. And when it comes to holiday lights, oh, you better believe she has opinions. The first year I put lights up, she came over, pretending to be polite. She said, "Oh, those lights are cute, but they're a little bright, don't you think? Maybe you should tone it down so they don't distract drivers." I brushed it off. I thought, okay, maybe she's just cranky, but whatever. I wasn't doing anything extreme, just standard Christmas cheer. The second year it escalated. I added a couple more decorations, a small inflatable snowman, nothing wild, but she marched right up to my door, banged on it, and started complaining. She said, "This is a residential neighborhood, not Las Vegas. Do you know how tacky this looks?" I tried to reason with her, explained that the kids loved it, explained that the other neighbors were totally fine with it, but she wasn't having it. She threatened to report me to the HOA. Now here's the thing about my HOA, they're not great, but they're not terrible. Either they didn't have any rules against holiday decorations, as long as they weren't up past mid-January. So when Karen filed her complaint, they basically told her, "Sorry, nothing we can do." That should have been the end of it. Right, wrong. Because Karen decided to take matters into her own hands, she started going around the neighborhood trying to rally people against me, knocking on doors, whispering about how my lights were lowering property values, saying my house looked like a carnival. The funniest part, nobody cared. In fact, people told me what she was saying, and they thought it was hilarious. That's when I decided if she was going to act like the Grinch I was, going to turn my house into Whoville, I wasn't going to back down. I was going to double, no, triple down and make my Christmas lights so spectacular that even the local news would want to cover it. So I got to work. I spent weeks planning, ordering lights online, renting extra extension cords, buying timers and smart plugs. I even borrowed a ladder from my brother-in-law so I could line every single inch of my roof and trees. And then I found the pièce de résistance à folie, synchronized light show system that could flash the lights to music. I'm talking Trans-Siberian Orchestra, blasting through outdoor speakers, while the lights danced perfectly in time. The first night I switched it on, I swear you could hear jaws dropping from down the block. Cars started slowing down. People started recording on their phones. Kids were cheering. It was like a mini Disneyland right there in our quiet little cul-de-sac. Everyone loved it. Everyone except Karen. She lost her mind. She came storming down the street, yelling about noise pollution and light pollution. She said people were going to sue me. She even called the cops. I kid you not, she called the actual police over Christmas lights. When the officers showed up, they were super chill. They looked at my setup, looked at her, and basically said, "Ma'am, this is not illegal. As long as he turns off the music by a reasonable hour, they're allowed to celebrate." The cops even complimented the display and asked me how I set it up. Karen was fuming. She stormed off, muttering about how the neighborhood was going downhill. But it didn't end there. Oh no. The display started gaining attention. People started posting about it on Facebook. Next thing I know, cars from other neighborhoods are lining up to see the show. One night, a local news van actually showed up and did a segment about how our little street had the best holiday lights in town. They interviewed my kids, my neighbors, even some random people who had driven over to see it. And you know what they all said. They loved it. They said it made them feel like Christmas was magical again. Meanwhile, Karen had become the laughingstock of the neighborhood. People started calling her the Grinch behind her back. Whenever she'd walk by during the light show, you could see people smirking, whispering, even pointing at her. She hated it so much she actually put up blackout curtains so she wouldn't have to see my house glowing through her windows every night. And here's the kicker. The HOA ended up praising me. They put out a newsletter saying how wonderful it was to see community spirit and even suggested we turn it into an annual tradition. Suddenly I went from being the target of Karen's wrath to being the neighborhood hero, and she went from being the self-appointed rule enforcer to the bitter woman everyone avoided. By Christmas Eve, our street was so packed with cars that the police actually had to direct traffic. It felt like a block party. People brought hot chocolate, set up lawn chairs, kids ran around in Santa hats laughing and singing, and there was Karen peeking out through her blinds, probably furious that all her complaining had backfired so spectacularly. Now every year since then I've kept the tradition alive, and guess what? The HOA actually funds part of it now. They help with electricity costs because it brings so much positive attention to the neighborhood. The news comes back every year. Families from all over the city drive through to see it. It's become something people look forward to. And it all started because one bitter neighbor couldn't stand to let someone else enjoy a little holiday spirit. So what's the lesson here? Well, if you've got a Karen in your neighborhood, sometimes the best revenge isn't yelling or fighting. Sometimes the best revenge is just outshining them. Literally, if they want to steal joy, you drown them in so much joy they can't handle it. And trust me, the look on Karen's face when the news anchor called my house the crown jewel of Christmas in the suburbs. That was the best Christmas gift I ever got. And every time I flip that switch and see the lights glow, I remember that first complaint, that one bitter comment that sparked something so much bigger. And I can't help but smile because sometimes the Grinch doesn't steal Christmas. Sometimes the Grinch accidentally creates it.